Hey everybody, Perrin Lovett here, back for the Prepper Post News, courtesy of Freedom Prepper, on Tuesday, March 2nd, 2021. Hello to everybody at Freedom Prepper, the community, and of course on YouTube, and a special welcome to everybody listening on Spotify and Anchor to the podcast. And I found the article on human dysgenics that I was talking about yesterday, the backup to something I mentioned at the end of last week. And this is once again Dr. Shauna Swan, PhD, who made a study of, or she analyzed 185 studies that included over 45,000 men. And she's just taken a look at the changes in human endocrinology. She looked at females also. She talks about how it's easier to analyze this stuff in men than it is in women, although she's seeing bad changes in both sexes. Take a look at this. I've got an article, a little bit better article than the one I had last week over at Medium, and then I link up to the study that she was part of. And she goes through, why is this happening? Why are sperm counts dropping? Why is testosterone dropping? Why do we have all these strange biological changes that just happen to coincide with all of this weird social craziness that we're seeing? And there are various reasons. One, she notes that people are having babies later in life, which has an impact. Then she backs up on that and says, well, it's an impact, but it's not that much of an impact. She talks about the one thing that people can really do day to day to cut down on this is to live a healthy lifestyle. Cut out cigarettes, lose weight, drink clean water, be healthy. That makes a lot of sense. The scary thing is what she places most of the blame on, and that's the chemicals that we find everywhere in everything. And it's she's identified hundreds of them, and she suspects that there may be thousands that are, you can't escape from these in the modern world. Our food is packaged in them. The cushions in your couch are made of these chemicals. Fire retardants in everything, clothing, bed sheets. And as soon as, one thing she points out that's really alarming is that as soon as somebody like the EPA can identify one of these chemicals and ban it, another one just pops up and takes its place. So take a look at that. There's a lot we can do, but it's she goes on to point out that if things keep going the way they are, within just a few decades, we're going to be up against an existential crisis. So anyway, we've got another crisis of sorts, one that I'm still not really free to talk about, and that's one of the 31 reasons that I hope I get this right, that Rabbi Kanaya Weissman, I don't want to mispronounce his name, but Rabbi Weissman has 31 reasons not to take a new medicine. Number one, he points out that, I can't say some of this stuff. Getting down in the list, he talks about the propaganda campaign that prevents people like me from quoting people like him on places like this. 31 reasons. It's not what it purports to be. We have people, let's see here, presumed benefits of this treatment are minimal, would not last long. Where are the really good ones? Drug companies have zero liability. I love number 11. Bill Gates. Thrice the Bill Gates. No, I'll pass on that. Then he talks about the worship of this, faux medical science, and the absolute lockdown of anybody who wants to talk about it, good or bad. If you don't toe the narrative, you're out. So take a look at that. Also, I found another interesting article from Michael Snyder, and his stuff it's good. It's a little different. I saw one that he had at his American Dream blog, and it might be that he might be slowly starting to come around out of this, neocon conservatism that doesn't conserve anything. Maybe he's headed towards Christian nationalism. We'll have to see. But he's on the heels of all of the reported increase that I talked about last week in dysphoria among Generation Z kids. On the heels of that, he's kind of admitting that, hey, you know what? It's not the politics, it's the culture. That's great. That's a first step. The next step is to move on to identity, and then we can start to once we know who we are and we're not afraid to say it, and we don't get banned for saying it. Then we can address the culture, and then the politics will conform itself. We still got time, and I applaud him for moving in the right direction. This is speaking of directions. This one I still can't get my head around. Al Jazeera. You may have heard about this. This has been in the popular press. Al Jazeera, the where are they out of? Qatar. The Islamic Arabic news agency that, by the way, does some pretty good reporting sometimes. We've actually had some Al Jazeera stories here because if you find it, if you find it and it makes sense, well, you found it and it makes sense. But they're planning a right-wing USSA media organization to go after Fox. So these are the same people that were doing the same thing with with Al Gore's failed left-wing media 15 years ago. So who would have thought it? Who would have thought it? We'll see how that works out. I think it's called Rightly, and there's really nothing to look at yet. But anyway, speaking of the right-wing media in the USSA, I've got a link to Vox Day's site where he links to a gatekeeping fake right write-up, and it's the underlying write-up is about how Americans need to people on the right, conservatives need to take up arms right now. Well, not just yet, not just yet. Next time. This guy, by the way, the author is literally a CIA operative. So make of that what you will. But he notes that everything is fake in this country. Politics are dead. There are no more free elections. It's all over. Time to get your guns out, because if you don't, then the next time will be they just kicking it down the road. They don't want you to change anything. That's what gatekeeping is all about. And my guess would be that Al Jazeera is going to fall in with the rest of these folks that they talk a good game, but it's always tomorrow. Always put it off till tomorrow. Everything is lost, except let's just give it one more insane try. But the left never, the left, in a way they're more respectable than these fake conservatives. Because as terrible as the things that they say and they want, they mean it. They're serious. They're not lying to you, and they don't try to hide once they get to a certain point. We are looking at we are now being called right-wing extremist, domestic terrorist, and insurrectionist, and a whole bunch of other bad names. I saw a story at the Daily Star about the previous generation of terrorists, back when Al Qaeda, was the group to worry about. This guy, I won't even tackle his name, Mr. Al Qaeda. He was spent 14 years at Gitmo, and was thrown out, released, never charged with a crime. Just take a read about what he says that he endured, and is there a corroboration of this? Well, actually, yes. It's not in the story, but it's a little extreme. But 2 years ago, we wouldn't have been talking about this. So maybe that's something we can all look forward to, or not. Something we might look forward to. I had to throw this one in here because this is either really cool or really pointless. It's a story about a solar-powered car, and actually, it looks more like a one of those recumbent bicycles that's encased in solar panels. And the question is, would you drive one? And you might, as long as the sun is out, because that's the great thing about it, and the Achilles heel. If the sun's not shining, there's no power, and you're not going anywhere unless you have a battery. The batteries are very heavy, and this thing probably needs to be lightweight. This is something I've been seeing these things. There was one in Australia 20 years ago. Bright sunny areas. It'll work someday. Will it work now? Who knows? Just don't forget about the Texas winter experiment with this kind of technology. It's great when it works, and really bad when it doesn't. Speaking of really bad, let's go to the land of Washington, where we get all kind of joyful news, like the State Department finding out that one of their own people dares to quote from the Bible, and he thinks that white people should be allowed to exist. That is unacceptable. He would be kicked out of Joe Biden's military, and now they're trying to find ways that they can get rid of him. Maybe they could call this guy from the CIA to get rid of him. It's not, if he didn't do it on office time, there's not a whole lot they can do. Well, there is, because we don't have a First Amendment anymore. That's in the past. These political stories, see there, it's identity and culture. This stuff just falls in, and if you let it all go to pot, then this stuff doesn't really matter. It is entertaining, though. It's funny to see the right-left dance. For years, pretty much his entire tenure in the White House, Donald Trump fell into the conservative trap of going to court. Going to court. We'll file a civil action and we will enforce the Constitution. And the courts just ruled against him every single time on everything. And now it's happened to Joe Biden. Creepy Joe, put a moratorium on deporting criminal aliens out of this country. He refused to enforce the law for 100 days. And a federal judge deals Biden another blow on his 100-day deportation ban. The judge granted a preliminary injunction that blocks the moratorium that the Biden administration announced on its first day. A story from Politico. So, let me see here. In plain English, that means that the judge has blocked Joe Biden's block of enforcing the law. So in other words, the judge is saying enforce the law. You can't make this stuff up. Previously, they were saying that Trump could not enforce the law. Now Biden has to. I'm going to bet that nothing changes either way, because again, this stuff really doesn't matter. But it's entertaining sometimes. As is the intersectionality. They love that word. Of economics and politics. And we've got a surprise story that no one could have ever seen coming, except anyone with eyes and a brain. I want to know how this is at all a surprise. As prominent economists, Republican lawmakers, and some market analysts raise alarm bells about the risk of overspending and overstimulating the economy, the Biden administration has found a surprising ally. The Federal Reserve. So you got people that want to, in the government, that want to wreck a nation and destroy an economy, and then you've got a central bank that wants to wreck a nation and destroy the economy, and you're surprised that I'd be surprised if they didn't work together. And because left, right, political nonsense aside, they've been working well together, and that's why things are as they are right now. Check that one out. It's a funny read, but not as funny as this. The last word of the day, farmland in the USSA. This is a New York Post story. Take a wild guess at who now owns the most farmland in America. I mentioned him earlier. The rabbi was all over his case. Yeah, it's Bill Gates. Bill Gates now owns like 250,000 acres of American farmland, everywhere from Florida to Washington State. Tens of thousands of acres in some of these individual states. why? This this story, it's like they went to one of his holding companies and asked the the accountant, why is he doing this? Well, it's a tax right. They took Think about it. What's the real reason that Bill Gates wants to buy up the farmland? Farms is where the food comes from, and food feeds people so they can live. If you were to say take the food out of the farms and there's no food for the people, then people would start to die. That's just a natural conclusion. Um, yeah, and he also has the terrible effect, I'm sure, of driving up the price of farmland. And this is a time when real people are thinking about moving back and getting back into the agricultural, rural, healthy lifestyle. And we've got this don't cuss. We've got this guy driving up the prices and seizing all the good land. Um, Still ways around it. Still ways around it. I'm sure you know of several, and we'll think of some more. That's about all I got today. I have some more stories that I just keep rolling over, and new stuff keeps coming up all the time. And it's almost spring. In fact, where I am, I'm going to go ahead and declare that winter is over and spring is here. So happy spring. Some of you, you'll be in the white stuff until May. So you'll catch up. Don't worry. We'll just be a little bit ahead of you. And we'll see you guys back on Wednesday. Have a great Tuesday, and God bless.